AFC East might be the most loaded division or the most star-studded division. For my money, the AFC North is the hardest to predict and the deepest 1 through 4. I don't know where to begin. I think you could make a case for all 4 of these teams. But let's start in the obvious place. The Cincinnati Bengals, the team that's made it to back-to-back AFC championship games and has a good shot to do it again. This is one of the best rosters in the league. Newsflash. And by the way, thanks to Joe Burrow being on a very cheap rookie quarterback for now, I stress for now, the Bengals have been able to go out and add even more talent. I think one of the more underrated moves in the league that we haven't talked enough about is the decision to sign Orlando Brown to be their new left tackle. No, Orlando Brown's not the best left tackle in the NFL, but it's a hell of an upgrade over what we've seen over the last 2 years as the Bengals have slowly tried to piece together enough to put around Joe Burrow. And that's the question for them. They've been to a Super Bowl and lost. They've been to another AFC championship game and lost. Have they done enough? Because ultimately at this point, only a Super Bowl championship is going to make you feel like it was worth it. Like you accomplished what you set out to do, which it's what I love about the NFL is imagine saying that about the Cincinnati Bengals 3 or 4 years ago. But when you have a talent like Joe Burrow, and by the way, when you know that Joe Burrow is soon going to be making north of $250 million a year, these are the realities. Look at it. The Bengals couldn't afford to pay Jesse Bates III and Von Bell this offseason. Von Bell's off in Carolina. Jesse Bates is now an Atlanta Falcon. You're asking young players like Dax Hill, their first-round pick last year, to step up into starting roles. You're hoping that big-time signings like Orlando Brown can take you to a level that you weren't at before, because the uncomfortable truth for the Bengals, and I don't want to be doom and gloom. I went to LSU after all, okay? I'm a little bit invested in the Cincinnati Bengals. But you're running out of years where this group is going to be able to stay together. T. Higgins is in a contract year. Tyler Boyd is in a contract year. Joe Burrow needs to be paid. Jamar Chase will be paid sooner rather than later, which already sounds weird to say. This iteration of the Bengals is on limited time. This might be their last opportunity. I think that's what makes it interesting. I think they're one of the 3 or 4 best rosters in the NFL. But I think, ask the Buffalo Bills, it goes from fun story of a downtrodden franchise to we got to win the Super Bowl or bust very, very quickly. And I think this season is the transition. I think we need to see some urgency in Cincinnati before these contracts start coming down. We know what to expect from the Bengals. It's been the same cast of characters for the last few years. But how about the Baltimore Ravens? Feels a little bit different out east for my money. First of all, we finally, blessedly, don't have to talk about Lamar Jackson's contract situation. He got his payday. And along with his payday, look, for as buttoned up as the Ravens are, for as much as there's like a Raven way, we're going to do things the Raven way, they've given Lamar Jackson what he wants. Greg Roman, gone. Todd Monken, in. And on top of that, they've done everything they can to make Lamar Jackson happy with his situation, whether that's signing Odell Beckham to a deal that, if we're being real, was a little bit generous, whether that's drafting Zay Flowers. This offense on paper looks fun as hell. There's no other way for me to say it. Like if Lamar's going to be airing the ball out and the Ravens are actually going to be playing in 3 receiver sets, like what planet is this? Since when are the Ravens winging the ball around the yard rather than putting a fullback and 2 tight ends on the field? I can't wait to see what it looks like. For me, it all comes down to how well that meshes. The Ravens defense is going to be good. I don't know where their pass rush is going to come from, but when you talk about some of the guys they have on hand, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, Marlon Humphrey, hopefully, please return soon from your foot injury, my friend. I trust that. I can't wait to see how well the Ravens move the ball through the air, because it all sounds good in August. I don't know what it's going to look like when we start playing games, but if it looks as fun as I think it can, I think the Ravens can win a lot of football games. Zay Flowers for your fantasy team. Zay Flowers, offensive rookie of the year. I'm just saying. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'm workshopping that. I don't know how well that works just yet. But man, there is a lot of excitement in Pittsburgh for the first time in a few years. And it's that guy. It's Kenny Pickett, or maybe, Pittsburgh, George Pickens. I apologize in advance. But look, I'm excited about the young talent in Pittsburgh. I'm trying not to fall for the preseason hype because, Kenny Pickett and George Pickens get in for like 8 plays. They hook up on a touchdown together. It's all really fun. What does it really mean for the season? That's the big question for me. How good is Kenny Pickett actually? He was fine as a rookie. I don't think we need to overreact to anything that happened in Pittsburgh last year. But if he's even pretty good in year 2, all of a sudden this becomes a really feisty team. Like, the defense should speak for itself. First of all, it's Mike Tomlin. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're always going to have a decent defense. TJ Watt, one of the best in his position at defensive end. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I'll go ahead and say, is the most underrated defender in the NFL. And just what he can do, the different variety of hats that he can wear in the Pittsburgh secondary. They just paid Alex Highsmith. Cam Hayward's still hanging around, putting up Pro Bowl seasons. The Steelers are going to be able to stop people. If Kenny Pickett's even good, I'm not asking for MVP consideration or any of that stuff. But if Kenny Pickett can play well, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, this is a plucky team. And like I said, I don't want to overreact too much to what we see in meaningless preseason games, but I think the perception of the Steelers over the last few years is like a hard to watch 8-9 win team. And I just don't think that's okay. I'm going to finish this point. You can try, but I'm curious to see how high does that go? Is the Steelers ceiling a wild card spot? Could they contend for the division? I kind of doubt it, but I'm excited to find out. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. Wrapping it up with, honestly, a team that should go at the top of the list. That's what I'm talking about. All 4 of these teams have a shot to make some serious noise. And we wrap it up with the Cleveland Browns, who have as good of a roster as there is in the NFL. They really do. It speaks to what I said about this division being the deepest in the league, that our last team, the Cleveland Browns, might have the best overall roster in the division. I don't think that's crazy to say, even knowing what Cincinnati brings to the table. The problem is we have no idea what Cleveland's quarterback is. We know the saga with Deshaun Watson. We know that he has basically been out of football for the last 2 years because of off-field allegations of sexual harassment. We know what the Browns gave up to get him and what they paid him and how impossible it is to move on from him. We also know that he looked pretty rough in a month of action last season. But guess what? We can dispense with all of that. In 2023, he's had a full offseason. He's back in the fold, however you might feel about it. He will be starting a full season for the Cleveland Browns, and he's got everything he needs to be successful. The receiver core looks nice, led by Amari Cooper. Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the league. A top 5 offensive line. They added Zadarius Smith to a defense that already had Myles Garrett. They beefed up their run defense. I'm not saying that, again, they're going to win the Super Bowl, but this is a team that is primed to win double-digit games and more if Deshaun Watson looks like the guy that they gave $230 million guaranteed to. It's hard for me to sit here and say that I think that's going to happen because I watched him struggle mightily last December. Don't sugarcoat it. And I know that he missed time, but it was rough sledding for the Cleveland Browns when Deshaun Watson came back. Well, like I said, you've had a full offseason. You're in the offense. No more excuses. It's going to be fascinating to see if the Deshaun Watson we remember from ancient history is back in 2023, or if this is a brutally disappointing season for a team that has no way to get out of that contract. I'm not going to overthink this one. I think it's going to be tough. I'm taking Cincinnati. I think they have one of the best divisions in the entire AFC. I think Joe Burrow will continue to ascend as a player. I think the Bengals are one of the best 2 teams in the AFC. I'm rolling with them to repeat.